Fear is a natural human emotion. It's wired into our system to keep us alert and protect us from danger. But when fear moves beyond that role, when it starts to dominate our thoughts, dictate our decisions, and control our outlook on life, it becomes a prison. One that keeps us from reaching the fullness of who we were created to be. That's where faith comes in, not as a denial of fear, but as a deliberate choice to rise above it. Faith isn't the absence of fear, it's moving forward in spite of it. It's choosing to believe in what we can't see more than what we do. It's trusting that there's a plan, a purpose, and a presence guiding us, even when we don't understand what's happening around us. Fear screams at you to stop. Faith whispers, keep going. Think about how much of our mental energy is consumed by what ifs. What if I fail? What if I lose everything? What if things don't change? What if they never get better? Fear multiplies these questions, playing them on repeat until we're paralyzed. But faith interrupts that cycle. Faith replaces what if with even if. Even if it doesn't go the way I hoped, I'll still stand. Even if I walk through darkness, I know I'm not alone. Even if I don't feel strong, I believe strength is being given to me. Fear wants you to wait until you have all the answers before you move. Faith says, move anyway. Fear says, play it safe. Faith says, step out, there's more waiting for you. And too many people have spent years waiting on fear to get out of the way when all along they were supposed to walk by faith through the fear. Faith is a decision. It's not based on emotions, convenience, or perfect conditions. It's a mindset, a lens through which we view the world and our place in it. It's the unshakable belief that there's something bigger than your fear, something greater than your past, and something stronger than your uncertainty. That something, or rather, that someone is working on your behalf. And when you believe that deeply enough, fear starts to lose its grip. The truth is, fear doesn't go away on its own. You can't reason with it. You can't negotiate with it. You can't sit and wait for it to disappear. You have to replace it, and faith is the only thing strong enough to do that. It grounds you when everything feels shaky. It holds you up when life pushes you down. It reminds you that you weren't meant to shrink back, you were meant to rise. Fear says, this is the end. Faith says, this is just the beginning. Fear says, you're not enough. Faith says, grace is. Fear tells you what's impossible. Faith tells you all things are possible if you believe. Faith doesn't shout, it speaks steady. It doesn't guarantee a storm-free life, but it anchors you in the storm, and that anchor is what separates the ones who endure from the ones who are overwhelmed. There's a point in life where your strength runs out. You've tried everything. You've planned, you've pushed, you've prayed, and yet the situation remains unchanged. That's when the soul begins to whisper something we don't always want to hear: let go. It feels counterintuitive, especially in a world that teaches us to take control, to fix, to fight, to figure it all out. But there is power in surrender. There's wisdom in release. There is breakthrough in stepping back. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean becoming passive or indifferent. It means releasing the illusion of control. It means recognizing that some battles aren't yours to fight. It's accepting that no matter how much you think, plan, or stress, there are outcomes that only God can produce. And when you hold on too tightly to people, problems, timelines, or outcomes, you begin to choke the flow of grace that was meant to carry you. We hold on because we're afraid of what might happen if we don't, afraid that if we stop trying, everything will fall apart. But what if the falling apart is actually the making of something better? What if the letting go is the only way for God to step in and do what we never could? So many times we confuse control with responsibility. Yes, you have a role to play, but control, that's above your pay grade. Your job is obedience, faithfulness, trust. God's job is outcome, timing, and transformation. When we forget that, we carry burdens we were never designed to bear, and over time, those burdens break us. Physically, emotionally, spiritually, letting go is an act of faith. It's a declaration that says, God, I trust you more than I trust my plan. It's the moment where you stop trying to be your own source, your own rescue, your own savior, and allow divine power to do what only it can. That shift, it's not always easy. It requires humility. It demands patience. It often feels like stepping off the edge with no visible safety net. But time and time again, those who let go discover something sacred. God was already there. We don't let go because we're weak. We let go because we're wise, because we understand that holding on doesn't always mean strength. Sometimes it's fear dressed up as control. Sometimes it's pride refusing to release what no longer fits. Sometimes it's a comfort zone disguised as commitment. But when you let go, really let go, you make room. Room for clarity, room for peace, room for God to move in unexpected, undeniable ways. The truth is, you can't receive with clenched fists. You can't walk into what's next while dragging everything from the past, and you can't hear new direction when your mind is noisy with anxious thoughts about how things should go. Letting go quiets the noise. It shifts the weight. It recenters you on the one who sees the whole picture when all you see is a piece of it. Worry wears a convincing disguise. It pretends to be preparation, responsibility, even care. But beneath the surface, it's something very different. Worry is a thief. It steals silently, gradually, and without apology. It doesn't show up in dramatic ways at first. It creeps in one thought at a time, one what if at a time, until suddenly peace is gone and fear has taken its place. Most of us don't even realize how much we're giving away when we worry. Time, energy, sleep, clarity, all traded for a loop of thoughts that never lead to answers. Worry never gives, it never adds, it only drains. You don't become more equipped by worrying. You don't gain wisdom by replaying the worst case scenario over and over again in your mind. You simply become more exhausted, more discouraged, more disconnected from the strength you actually need. There's a fine line between concern and worry. Concern takes responsibility, worry takes control. Concern says, what can I do today to move forward? Worry says, how can I predict and fix everything that might go wrong tomorrow? One is rooted in presence. The other is rooted in fear of the future, and that's where worry becomes a trap. It convinces you that by thinking more, fearing more, stressing more, you're somehow preparing yourself for what's ahead. But the truth is, you're just rehearsing pain that may never come. Every minute spent worrying is a minute stolen from the present. Worry pulls your mind into the future and holds it hostage there. It blinds you to the beauty of now, the people around you, the opportunities in front of you, the small joys waiting to be noticed. It turns your attention to what's missing instead of what's here, and over time, that focus becomes your reality. You stop seeing what's going right. You only feel the weight of what could go wrong. Worry also clouds your decisions. When fear is in the driver's seat, wisdom takes a back seat. You react instead of responding. You panic instead of pausing. You grasp for control instead of listening for direction. That's the danger of worry. It's loud, it's urgent, and it drowns out the quiet voice of truth that says, you're not alone in this. What worry also does, and this is something many people don't realize, is it shrinks your sense of possibility. When you're always imagining worst case scenarios, you start believing they're the only scenarios. You begin to anticipate failure, rejection, loss, and soon, even when opportunity knocks, you're too afraid to answer. Worry builds walls where doors used to be. It fences in your faith. It limits your growth. It keeps you so focused on protecting yourself from pain that you miss out on the progress meant for you. At its core, worry is a distraction. It keeps your eyes on the problem instead of the promise. It demands your attention but offers no real solution. Peace isn't always the result of circumstances aligning perfectly. It's not something that simply shows up when life calms down, when bills are paid, when people behave, or when everything feels under control. If that were the case, peace would always be out of reach, dangling just beyond the next solution, the next fix, the next win. But real peace, lasting peace, doesn't work like that. It's not a product of external order. It's a decision made internally. Peace is a choice. Choosing peace means deciding right in the middle of the chaos that your soul will not be shaken by everything that's shaking around you. It means that instead of obsessing over what you can't change, you anchor yourself in what you know to be true, that you are held, that you are guided, that you are not facing life alone. That anchor doesn't eliminate the storm, but it gives you something firm to hold onto while the storm rages. Every day we are faced with triggers that try to steal our peace, uncertainty about the future. Tension in relationships, bad news, unexpected changes. It's easy to let these things dictate our emotional state. But the truth is, peace isn't found in avoiding problems, it's found in how we respond to them. You can't always control what comes at you, but you can control what you allow to live inside you. That's where choice comes in. Peace doesn't knock down the door, you have to invite it in. Choosing peace often requires rejecting other voices, the voice of fear whispering that you're not safe, the voice of doubt telling you things won't work out, the voice of anxiety feeding you worst case scenarios. These voices are loud, persistent, and familiar, but peace speaks differently. It doesn't shout. It's steady, gentle, and present. To hear it, you have to quiet the noise and be intentional about where your focus goes. It also means learning to be okay with not having all the answers. Peace and control rarely coexist. The more you insist on certainty, the more you chase after guarantees, the more your peace begins to crumble. But when you release the need to know everything, to fix everything, to be everywhere at once, you make room for peace to enter. That surrender, not out of defeat, but out of trust, becomes the foundation for an unshakable calm. Peace is a practice. It's a daily, sometimes hourly, decision to protect your internal space. It may look like stepping away from arguments that go nowhere, limiting exposure to negativity, praying instead of panicking, or simply breathing deeply in a moment of stress. These choices are small but powerful. They stack up, and over time they form a life that's not controlled by external chaos, but guided by inner stillness. There will always be something trying to rob you of peace: deadlines, disappointments, delays. But when you've trained your heart to choose peace, those things lose their power to rule you. We live in a world that moves fast. We want answers now, results today, and breakthroughs on our schedule. The moment something takes longer than we expected, we start to question if it's still coming. We equate delays with denial, silence with abandonment, and detours with failure. But divine timing doesn't operate on human clocks. It doesn't answer to pressure, impatience, or deadlines. Divine timing moves with purpose, not panic. And even when it doesn't make sense to us, it's never off, it's never late, it's always right. There's a difference between something being ready and you being ready. Sometimes the delay isn't about the destination, it's about your development. It's not that the opportunity isn't real, it's that you're being prepared to carry it. There's a process that unfolds in waiting that can't happen any other way. Waiting reveals your character. It deepens your trust. It teaches you what fast success never could: how to remain faithful without seeing immediate fruit. Divine timing aligns everything in a way that human effort never can. It puts the right people in the right place at the right time. It closes doors you would have forced open and opens doors you never knew existed. And when it finally comes together, you look back and realize it had to happen this way. You wouldn't have appreciated it earlier. You wouldn't have been prepared. The delay wasn't a punishment, it was precision. It's easy to grow discouraged when you feel like you're behind. You scroll through highlights of other people's lives, measuring your timeline against theirs. But comparison is a thief that blinds you to the work happening in your own story. Just because their chapter looks different doesn't mean yours isn't unfolding exactly as it should. Divine timing doesn't rush for anyone, and it doesn't compete with anything. It honors the pace of purpose, not pressure. There's also protection in divine timing. Sometimes what you think you want isn't what's best. What you think you're ready for might overwhelm you if it came too soon. So the delay becomes your shelter, the detour becomes your safety net, the no, or the not yet, becomes a setup for something far greater than what you asked for, and often the timing that frustrated you becomes the timing that frees you. Trusting divine timing requires humility. It requires laying down your calendar, your expectations, and your need to control the narrative. It asks you to believe that what's meant for you won't pass you, and what passes you was never meant to stay. That kind of trust doesn't come naturally. It's built in the waiting rooms of life, in the quiet spaces where your faith is tested, stretched, and refined. There's beauty in not knowing exactly when things will happen. It teaches you to value presence over prediction. It allows space for growth, alignment, and unseen preparation. You begin to understand that time isn't being wasted, it's being woven. Every delay has detail. Every pause has purpose. Every moment is part of the design. When life gets heavy, when the pressure builds, when the losses hit back, when the silence feels endless, it's easy to start believing the lie that you're alone in it. That no one understands, that no one sees how hard you're trying, that you're carrying more than anyone should have to carry. But no matter how isolated it feels, the truth is this: you're not alone in the battle. Pain has a way of isolating people. It pulls you inward. It convinces you to put on a mask, to keep quiet, to push through without letting anyone know what's really going on. You don't want to be a burden. You don't want to seem weak, so you tell yourself, "I've got this," even when you're breaking inside. But strength was never meant to be a solo act. Even the strongest warriors need help. Even the most faithful believers need support. The battle may be personal, but it's not meant to be private. There is always more happening behind the scenes than what you can see. Whether you realize it or not, you are surrounded by grace, by strength, by divine guidance that walks with you through every moment. Just because the crowd is quiet doesn't mean heaven is silent. Just because people aren't showing up the way you hoped doesn't mean God isn't working. Presence isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a quiet strength that holds you up when everything else is falling apart. You were never created to carry it all on your own. You were created for connection with your Creator, with others, with truth that anchors you deeper than your emotions. The enemy of your purpose wants you to believe that you're in this by yourself, because isolation leads to defeat. But community, even when it's just one person who gets it, one prayer that lifts you, one reminder that someone's standing with you, changes everything. There's also another layer of this truth. You're not the only one who's been through this kind of battle. Others have walked similar roads. Others have felt that same weight on their chest in the middle of the night. Others have cried those silent tears and wondered if they'd ever feel peace again, and they made it through. They're proof that survival is possible, that healing is real, that joy can return, and so can you. When you feel weak, that's not failure, that's humanity. And it's in your weakness that strength becomes visible. Sometimes you need to stop fighting so hard in your own power and realize help is already available. That presence, divine and human, is closer than you think. Whether through a conversation, a verse, a quiet moment of peace that comes out of nowhere, or the sudden strength to take one more step, you are being supported in ways that may not be obvious but are deeply real. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to carry every piece. You're allowed to lean, to rest, to cry, to hope. Because in this battle, the one you're fighting right now, you're not forgotten, you're not invisible, and you're not alone. So here's what it all comes down to. You've been carrying too much for too long. overthinking every step, replaying every moment, worrying about every outcome, but none of that has brought you closer to peace. None of that has fixed the situation, and that's because what you're facing isn't meant to be handled by your strength alone. God is already working behind the scenes in ways you can't see. While you're trying to figure it out, He's already mapped it out. While you're stressing over what's next, He's already positioned the right people, opened the right doors, and aligned the right timing. You don't need to have it all figured out, you just need to trust that it's being handled. Let go of the need to control everything. Let go of the fear that keeps whispering lies. Choose peace over panic, faith over fear, presence over pressure. Stop letting worry rob you. Stop overthinking your way out of the very thing you're meant to walk through with grace. You're not alone, you're not forgotten, and you're not failing. You're in process, you're in purpose, and you're right on time, divine time. So breathe, be still, let go, and know it's already handled.